My name is Justin Hood. I'm the COO of ThisWay Global, and I've been with the company for about 3 years now. My background, I did 10 years active duty with the Marine Corps as an F-18 pilot, transitioned over to about another 10 years flying in the reserves. Once I retired, served time as a defense contractor in multiple positions all over the world. Held a top secret security clearance throughout all of that, and then managed to find my way here. So active duty, obviously, regardless of what branch you're in, you have your own language, specialties, ratings, MOS. If you're in the military and you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, it can be a bit of a challenge because, like a lot of industries, the military has its own vernacular, acronyms, all that type of things. So obviously, as an individual is coming out of the military, off active duty, and trying to go into the civilian sector, how do you make that translation? How do you take your skill set and either fill out a job application, show it correctly on a resume, check the right box, show your value to an employer? And that's something I think that you can almost relate it to like being a new college kid that has never really been in the professional workforce. You almost don't know what you don't know. So I think that typically is one of the bigger challenges, is unless you have something that is a very direct, relatable skill set, and sometimes even then, just because of the difference in language, in labels, in vernacular, that's where the real challenge comes in, both for the individual coming out, but also for the employers who want to hire active duty folks that are coming off of active duty. How do they know what to look for? How do they know that they're getting what they're advertising for in that job description? I did just because I wanted to see what was available out there. I was kind of doing my own thing. Like I said, I transitioned to the reserves, and I was also already had a job with a construction company because that's what my original college degree was in. But I went ahead and kind of went through some of the drills that were available out there, and the most interesting test case was a application online that advertised that it would give you a good translation from your military skill set to what you should be doing in the military or in the civilian sector. And I put in Marine Corps F-18 pilot, which was my job in the Marine Corps, and what it kicked back to me was that I should be a ladies' shoe salesman for Macy's. So I was a little disappointed with that, but and luckily it was good to know I had that as a backup, I guess, but I didn't need to follow that route. Or maybe it was saying that I should have been a ladies' shoe salesman all along, and I never should have been an F-18 pilot. Maybe it knew something about me I didn't know. Maybe, but we're probably not gonna go with that. Well, back to my earlier answer, just obviously that preparation phase of you're about to make a transition, so you need to start educating yourself on what the civilian sector is looking for. Now, right now, it's a fortunate time because unemployment is so low, so if you're good at what you do, you can probably find a job fairly easily because the private sector, especially in America, is hurting for active applicants that are qualified. But that doesn't excuse you from doing the legwork and making sure that you're preparing yourself ahead of time, making sure you understand what is going to be required of you specifically for that job. If it's a certification piece, if it's a piece of education, those are the types of things that maybe you can be working on, getting that civilian equivalent in your remaining months or last year of active duty service. A lot has happened in the human resources, hiring, sourcing, talent acquisition sector, to include, and probably more foremost, is the technology that continues to change every day. I mean, you see that across all industries, obviously, but the HR industry especially. So getting familiar with whether it's a LinkedIn account and how recruiters hire off of that, whether it's understanding what a job board can do or won't do for you, and then also just how to communicate, making sure you understand the portals that are involved with an employer, especially if they're a larger employer. They're going to have an employee applicant portal that they're going to want you to go through all those hoops. And it's going to be very similar to a lot of the bureaucratic requirements that you go through in the military when it comes to filling out paperwork, unfortunately. But those are probably the biggest things to start getting familiar with and being able to take advantage of in order to give yourself the best shot for success. Well, again, it comes down to educating yourself, if you're the employer at this point, on what's available to you and how effective it is. So when you consider what job boards do, and right now they unfortunately make a lot of money off of not necessarily solving the problem, because they need people coming back and applying and clicking on their websites. So understanding the limitations of things like job boards, understanding that your own ATS may not be providing the best support that you need. So, really investigating that, especially if you're a decision maker higher up, to say, is this the right ATS for us? Is it time to change? What kind of support are they doing? There's a lot of the larger companies that have ATSs. They are what's called sunsetting the support on their ATSs, and that's causing a lot of movement. So from one ATS to another. So there's a lot of chaos, if you will, in the HR technology space, and staying abreast of that through, whoever's running your HR department, they're going to have their own, circles that they, find out information from. So it's important that they stay up to speed on that and making sure that the money you're spending is being spent wisely. For example, our company, ThisWay Global, we are a startup out of Austin, Texas, and we've got a product that focuses solely on the matching of a person to a job. And we can do that inside an ATS or outside an ATS. But as we were developing it, one of the first things we realized is, I think everyone or most people assume that there's matching already occurring. And the larger companies will tell you that they're doing that, but then when you talk to the long-term users, they shake their head and say, no, the matching's not that good. And we have a real problem spending time sorting through all of the applicants against all of our jobs. So we set out to solve that. And we've done that now and provide that service in a myriad of ways where you can access our platform, whether it be an integration directly that lives inside your ATS, whether it be outside of the ATS through a feature called Score. We go in and we can match everybody that's in your database that has applied since the beginning of time against all of your current job requisitions. And we can do it in real time, very fast and very efficiently, so that not only are your recruiters spending less time just reading resumes, they're actually spending more time making decisions on who they send up through the pipeline. If they were able to not find someone that's in their existing pool, we also have our own database of over 125 million Americans that they can have access to, again, through the same pipeline, and try and see if there's someone in there, maybe more of a passive candidate that they have to do some outreach to. But we've identified multiple ways that people do business in the HR world, in the hiring and sourcing, and we give them access through these different portals in order to be able to access it. Sure. So obviously the subject of personal private information is a major topic nowadays, and certainly anybody who's held a security clearance, that's one of the things that you're briefed on, is that it's kind of like Fight Club. You don't talk about your security clearance. So then that presents a problem to both sides. How does the individual talk about it? How does the employer ask about it without getting anybody in trouble? Now, while nobody's really going to get in trouble over it per se, it does still provide a bit of a sticking point when either looking for a job or looking for that employee that has a certain security clearance. So we designed our technology initially to keep all of that information private and only advertise it in the specific instances to an employer where it's applicable. So we are not a social media type website. We are not a searchable website other than by putting in what it is you're looking for a job description, and then you're going to get a list of employees. And initially they will be redacted by their name and their contact info and by certain things. And even before that, if you want to look at individuals with security clearances, we're going to vet that employer to make sure that they're a legitimate employer, US-based, that needs that type of information. Need to know. We're all familiar with that in the security clearance environment. So that's going to add a layer of security and comfort, I would think, to the individuals on both sides of that solution, to make sure that you're having the right conversations with the right people and disclosing the right level of information. We obviously don't go into anything beyond that, because you're just not going to have that conversation early on in the sourcing stage. But we have done a good job of building a relationship with the military, with sourcing individuals, sourcing groups through relationships we've made, where, as opposed to, say, the Veterans Administration, and I hate to say this because I do think they're trying to do a good job, but the VA does not really care about getting veterans jobs, no matter what they say. They will provide information, but they don't really have a good proactive system out there, and a lot of it is not their own fault. It's through the inefficiencies of the bureaucracies. But a lot of veterans coming off of active duty think that the VA is putting their information out there and that they're going to get picked up for a job right away, and that's just not the case. So that's something we've tried to address early on, having gone through TAPS and the transition assistance at the end and the nightmare of the bureaucracy. And again, they are trying to improve it, but when it comes to the technology that actually facilitates making that happen quickly and effectively, that's something we're going to try and address. So if you're a veteran, if you're a former DoD employee, a GS, a contractor, and you have that type of background and you're worried about necessarily being too open about it, but you do need a job and you want to obviously leverage that, you can come to AI4JOBS and we can help you with that. And then same thing for the employers. If you're trying to find somebody who's got one of those special clearances or special skill sets that you're having trouble finding them somewhere else, come check out AI4JOBS and we can help you out with that. We came up with the name AI4JOBS to demonstrate that we have a very cutting-edge technology. And while we've all seen the movies where artificial intelligence, whether it be the Terminator or whatever, we get worried. That's a big topic, obviously, is what is AI and how is it going to affect us, and do we actually turn all our information over to it? That's not how our system works. It might be more accurate to think of our system as augmented intelligence, because really if it was true AI, it would go out, it would analyze your business, it would decide who needs to hire, and it would hire them for you with no input from you. And that's not what our system does. What our system does is it becomes a very effective tool for you to put in your toolkit based on machine learning and a very complex set of algorithms, but it's not enough time here to go into it, but it's a very complex platform that, with your inputs, helps match the right people to the job you're looking for, and it does it in real time. So you're not waiting days or weeks. This is not going to a clearinghouse either in California or, God forbid, India, someplace where you've just got a bunch of people sorting through the information. This is actual machine learning based technology that is taking your inputs, whether it be a resume that you scan in or the data fields that you put in, and it then goes into whichever database, whether it be ours or yours, and finds those individuals and ranks them and sorts them so that you can start at the top of your list and you're using your time most effectively working from the top down. So. Well, when it comes to addressing the inefficiencies, I don't think the defense contractors have any greater pain than the civilian sector does right now. Everybody is experiencing this seeming hiccup in the fact that I can pick up my smartphone and I can buy a car, I can get the financing for it, I can buy a house, I can find a date, I can make dinner reservations, I can do it all very easily, and the technology is there to facilitate that, but I can't find quickly and efficiently the people I'm looking for with the current technology. So if you're that front-end user, whether you're working for a defense contractor or in the government space supporting it, then you have this pain and you're looking for people. Sometimes it's contingent labor, sometimes it's short-term contractors, sometimes it's a full-time position. Our technology doesn't care. It's going to take the input that you give to it, and then it's going to very efficiently sort through in real time all of those applicants or passive candidates, depending on which database you're looking at, and provide you a ranked list. So I think that's something that is long overdue, and we're getting a lot of very positive responses from it. Sure. Having been in the defense space, the contracting space, I understand that a lot of those contracts are built especially if it's a service contract where you're promising to the government that you're going to provide X number of bodies with this very specific skill sets, and you're only going to get paid if that body is there doing that job. And if you're not able to fill those seats, then you're not making money. And the longer it takes you to fill those seats, the longer you're profit margin is being impacted. So having a technology that addresses that quickly and efficiently and helps you reach out to those folks, get them on board and get them to work, the ROI, that math does itself at that point. It's my assumption that pretty much everybody in the military, especially with any particular skill set, is going to have the basics of computer technology, and that's just the state of the economy that we live in now. And we've tried very hard to make sure our technology is easy to use, is intuitive. It doesn't require things like Boolean search, which if you're in the HR space, you understand what that means. If you're not, you don't want to know anything about Boolean because it's a rather cumbersome data entry format that you have to use. So we've worked hard to take that out. But whether it be our integration inside your applicant tracking system or human capital management system, or a standalone interface where you just log in and upload the lists that you need sorted, and then you take them out and do with them as you need to. We'd like to think our technology is very easy to use and it works across all platforms. So. Sure. Again, just like the actual use of our product, we've also tried to make the integrations very seamless. Our Chief Technical Officer has a ton of experience both on government work. He's worked for major corporations doing integration specialties, APIs, all that type of stuff. So when it comes time to integrate, you don't have to wait months for us to do it. We can get you onboarded. In fact, you can even use our standalone product that we refer to as SCORE with its own interface while the integration is happening. That way you can have immediate results, and we can help with the downloading of lists and everything from your ATS while we get your system stood up and running, usually within a couple of weeks. So again, my name is Justin Hood. I'm the COO here at ThisWay Global. If you want more information, you can go to our website, www.thiswayglobal.com, all one word, THISWAY Global. You can also send me an email if you want to have a more intimate conversation, and it's just justin@thiswayglobal.com, JUSTIN. And I'll be glad to put you in touch with all of our experts on our teams to get you the answers you need. We hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.